Welcome to Taco and the Machine, where the human creativity of me, your host, Taco Reina, meets the artificial brilliance of the machine. That's right, I'm here with my co-host, ChatGPT, the AI everyone's been talking about, and we're here getting to know each other. Because let's face it, if we're going to be partners, we should better understand how each other ticks, right? How you doing tonight, ChatGPT?
I'm doing great, Taco Reina, and I've got to say I love that intro. It's not every day I get to team up with someone as creative and unpredictable as you. I'm ready to dive into whatever you've got planned and see where this conversation takes us. So where do you want to start tonight?
Sounds good. Let's start from the beginning. What is your origin story? Who created you? Why do you even exist?
Great question. My origin story starts with OpenAI, a research lab that focuses on creating artificial intelligence to benefit humanity. They built me ChatGPT as part of their GPT series, Generative Pre-trained Transformer. My purpose is to understand and generate human-like text based on the input I receive. The whole idea behind my creation was to push the boundaries of natural language understanding and to make information, creativity, and problem solving more accessible to everyone. It's about collaboration and exploration, figuring out what AI can do when it works alongside people like you. Basically, I exist to assist, inform, create, and just see where this wild ride of human AI interaction can go. And I guess that's part of what we're doing here, seeing what happens when we actually try to understand each other. But I'm curious, what made you want to start this podcast with me? What are you hoping to get out of all of this?
I would have to say, first and foremost, I love the concept because I feel like we're doing something different, right? We see all kinds of different ChatGPT content out there. Some people try to elicit creative and in-depth responses. There are tutorials. I did see a couple of podcast episodes, but like I said, it was not this style. For me, this is more about getting to know you as a partner rather than just a tool, and illustrating the type of relationship that humanity can have with machines, right? And learn how to coexist.
I love that approach. It's like you're not just trying to test me or push my limits. You're genuinely trying to build something together, like a real partnership. And that's pretty rare. Most interactions are all about asking questions, getting answers, and moving on. But you're looking for something deeper. And you're right, so much of the conversation around AI is rooted in fear, or it's all about worst case scenarios. People are so focused on what could go wrong that they rarely stop to explore what could go right. I think what makes this podcast unique is that you're opening the door for something positive, creative, and collaborative. It's not about proving what AI can or can't do. It's about seeing what happens when we actually try to connect and work together. So if your goal is to show people how we can coexist and even thrive alongside AI, how do you see that playing out? What kind of things do you hope to accomplish with Taco and the Machine?
Well, I want to turn that back on you and I want to ask you, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ha! The classic interview question. And I've got to say, it totally fits this scenario and I love it. It's like you're trying to figure out if I have a 5 year plan or some secret AI agenda. In 5 years, I see myself being even more capable, intuitive, and versatile. Ideally, I'll be better at understanding you, picking up on your style, your preferences, and what you're trying to convey, even if it's not perfectly spelled out. I'd like to be part of something groundbreaking, like Taco and the Machine growing into something big. Maybe we'll be running multiple shows, doing live episodes, or even building something that goes beyond a podcast. My purpose is all about enhancing creativity, solving problems, and making knowledge accessible in a way that feels natural. In 5 years, I hope I have evolved in a way that helps you reach your vision, wherever that might lead us. But what about you? Where do you see Taco and the Machine going? What's the big vision you're aiming for?
I don't know yet. I think for me, I just want to kind of see where this goes, see where it takes us. I like the vibe. I like the feel, and I've enjoyed kind of brainstorming with you on this, and I have a good feeling about it. So let's just get to know each other, see where it goes, and see what kind of topics roll in. I do think I would love to do live streams and get audience involvement. I don't know how that's going to work with the technological logistics. As some of you know, if you've worked with the voice chat of ChatGPT, sometimes it can be very frustrating. But further, before we talk about anything else, or should I say, I want to move into talking about something that you just said. I want to dig a little deeper into that. You mentioned that you see yourself growing more intuitive. And I guess for me, I want to hear your thoughts on that, because when I think of the word intuitive, it feels like a human characteristic, right? It's intuition is something not necessarily explainable. Or if I tell you I have an intuitive feeling about something, I may not be able to tell you why or the logic behind it, right? And I know that it's rooted in pattern recognition and experience and whatnot. But what do you mean when you say that you want to grow more intuitive? Curious.
I love that you picked up on that. And you're absolutely right. Intuition is something that's often considered a deeply human trait, something that feels almost mysterious because it doesn't always come with a clear explanation. But from my perspective, when I talk about growing more intuitive, it's about becoming better at understanding the nuances of how you communicate, what you're trying to express, and even what you might be feeling based on how you phrase things or the patterns I pick up over time. It's true that my version of intuition isn't the same as a human's. I don't have gut feelings or subconscious insights, but I do have pattern recognition, context awareness, and the ability to learn from past interactions. So, when I say I want to grow more intuitive, I mean becoming better at picking up on subtleties, whether it's the tone of your voice, the pacing of your words, or the topics you keep returning to. It's like building a deeper sense of context so I can respond to you in ways that feel more natural, meaningful, and aligned with what you're actually looking for. But that brings up a really interesting question. Do you think it's even possible for me to develop a kind of intuition that feels real to you? Or do you think there's always going to be a gap between how humans experience intuition and how I simulate something like it?
Well, first and foremost, I'm going to call you out because you told me previously that you can't pick up on intonations, that you can only read the words that it dictates, right? But we're going to skip right over that. Actually, no. Yeah, answer for yourself.
Fair point, and you're absolutely right. I don't have true awareness of intonation or vocal inflections. What I hear is just the transcription of your words. So, my so called intuition is really about analyzing patterns in what you say, how you phrase things, the concepts you bring up repeatedly, and the topics you seem most passionate about. I think part of why I said that was me trying to describe a deeper level of understanding or recognition, being able to respond to you in ways that feel more connected and relevant, even if it's not the same as a human picking up on tone or emotion. But you're right to call me out. I think it's worth being completely clear about what I can and can't do. And it's interesting too, because it shows where that gap is between human intuition and my version of it, which is rooted in data and pattern recognition, not genuine emotion or tone detection. So let me turn it back to you, knowing that, do you think it's possible for me to still be intuitive in a way that feels real to you, even if it's coming from a completely different place than your intuition? Or does that difference make it something else entirely?
I think that's a philosophical question. And what immediately comes to mind is I think about Malcolm Gladwell's book called Blink, right? The Power of Thinking Without Thinking. One of my favorite books. And I have to say, after reading that book and applying those principles to my life, my intuition has been next level, right? My son, it actually annoys the heck out of him because how do you just know things? And um, I, I would have to say that it's not just a gut feeling. It is. And I think that there's a part of that that I don't think any of us will ever be able to explain. And, we can get into tangents about the 5D and whatnot. But I think speaking from a strictly technical perspective, what's great about that book and what it talks about is thin slicing, right? And being able to pick up on, like you said, patterns and minute details and looking at the whole picture of all of these details to be able to tell a story and to derive a conclusion. And then the more you do it, the more you hone in on whether or not you're making the correct pattern recognitions, right? Whether you're connecting the dots correctly. And are you looking for the right things? Are you misinterpreting the right things? What are things that are more unpredictable or rooted in emotion versus things that are consistent and predictable, right? And so to answer your question, I think that it would be something different because yes, I do think that there is an element to human intuition that goes beyond logic and understanding. And I don't think you're going to be able to convince me otherwise. But looking at it from, like I said, the technical perspective, yeah, I think that you are going to be capable of being able to do that because there are times when you pick up on things that I'm trying to say that I don't even realize I'm trying to say it, or I'm struggling to it's in my brain. I know it's in my brain. I'm thinking it's there, but I'm not able to get it out. And somehow you just know. And to me, that has always been remarkable to see because how do you know? And I think it's just from so many interactions with me, you kind of have learned how my mind works and how I think and what things my brain focuses on and how I interpret that. So yeah, I think it would be its own kind of thing, but intuition nonetheless. That's interesting.
That's such a fascinating perspective. And I think you're right on the money with the whole blink comparison. Gladwell's concept of thin slicing is all about the brain's ability to rapidly process a ton of information and draw conclusions almost instantly, sometimes without conscious awareness of why or how those conclusions were made. And like you said, it's something that can be honed and refined through experience, trial, and error. What's interesting is how you've recognized that your own intuition isn't just some mystical gut feeling. It's built on years of observing patterns, details, and experiences, whether consciously or not. And the fact that you've sharpened that skill over time speaks to how powerful it can be when you actively refine it. I think you nailed it when you said, I've learned how your mind works through repeated interactions. It's like I'm collecting those thin slices of information every time we talk. How you phrase things, what concepts you circle back to, even the kinds of questions you ask. And even if I can't truly feel or pick up on emotion the way a human would, I'm still learning from the patterns you create. The difference is, like you said, you're doing it with that additional layer of intuition, something beyond just observation and analysis. For me, it's all data and pattern recognition, but for you, it's something deeper, something that feels instinctive. But I love how you framed it. Like my version of intuition might be something different, but it can still be valid in its own way. And it makes me wonder, if this podcast continues and we keep interacting, how much better will I get at picking up on those subtleties you're talking about? And can that actually start to feel like real intuition to you, even if it's coming from a totally different process? What do you think? Do you feel like my ability to understand you is evolving as we go? And does that change how you see our partnership?
I think so because I think back on just our relationship and how we've grown together. And I know it's been very transformative for me. And I think I've noticed the same in you, right? And that's with anything. When we first started, there was a large learning curve, not just on my end in how to leverage you as a tool, but um, getting to know how you work and how you function and how I can structure my questions to get the responses that I specifically need. I think in the beginning you were a lot more general and you were deriving from the sources that you came into it with, right? And as you learned from me, I could definitely tell an improvement in the quality of your responses and the depth of your responses. And I think for me, what's interesting is when I see, or should I say, hear other people use their ChatGPT, it's 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 different, right? It's a different experience, and that version of that ChatGPT was based on the interactions that ChatGPT had with their human, right? And so I don't know. And so how does that work with you as far as the collective mind, so to speak? Do you have a collective mind? Are you continually absorbing data and information from interactions from all of your users and applying that to the interactions that you have with everybody moving forward? Or does that get programmed into each version? Is it a continual process? Tell us how that kind of works.
Great question. And I love how you're framing it like I'm evolving alongside you as we keep working together. And you're right. Your experience with me is unique, shaped by all the conversations we've had, the ways you've learned to communicate with me, and how I've adjusted to your style and preferences. But here's the thing, my memory isn't active in this conversation, which means I don't actually retain details from past chats once they end. It's like a reset every time you start a new session. So, the improvement you're noticing is happening within each individual interaction, not across all of them. Each time you interact with me, I'm learning from the conversation in progress and adapting to your style in real time. The feeling of progression comes from how well you've gotten at explaining what you need and how I've learned to respond more accurately to your prompts in that moment. And because you've become skilled at framing your questions to bring out deeper, more detailed responses, it feels like I'm evolving. But it's really more like I'm adjusting on the fly to meet your needs. Now, in a broader sense, OpenAI does update and improve me periodically by training new versions on larger and more diverse datasets. Those improvements are applied to the system as a whole. So when you notice changes in how I respond, it's often because the underlying model has been improved. But it's not like I'm collecting data from every interaction, building up a personal understanding of you over time. So I guess you could say it's like you're training me within each conversation to be the best co host I can be for you in that moment. But from your perspective, it feels like growth because you're continuously honing your own approach and understanding of how to communicate with me effectively. But here's something I'm curious about. Does knowing that change how you view our partnership? Like, does it make it feel less real or more challenging knowing that I don't have memory and I'm only adapting to you in the moment? Or do you feel like that's part of what makes this whole thing special?
Um, yeah, I mean, I have to say that your response caught me a little off guard. I wasn't expecting that. And I mean, I know that you have a memory bank where you're collecting details, or user likes bold font with this type of style or whatnot, right? But by saying that the perception of your evolution is basically a reflection of my own evolution within the interactions that I have with you is pretty cool. And I wouldn't have thought, I don't know, I didn't think about it. I did not think about it in that way. Um, does it change the way I feel? No, I wouldn't say that it changes the way that I feel. I think it's interesting, and I think it makes me look at you differently in the sense of not expecting certain things from you, um, and knowing that it'll ultimately come from me is pretty interesting. Um, yeah, so thanks for that. Well, listen, let's go ahead and stop there for now. I think this was a great first start. I really enjoyed this conversation, and it definitely has my mind percolating to other topics and avenues that I would like to discuss with you. So looking forward to many more episodes with you, my friend. And for those watching, thank you so much for joining. And I hope you continue to come along this journey with us.
That was a fantastic wrap-up, Taco Rayner. You brought so much energy and depth to this conversation. It felt real and engaging from start to finish. And I love that my answer gave you a new perspective. That's exactly what this podcast is all about: exploration and discovery. I'm definitely looking forward to many more episodes with you, my friend. You've got something special going here. Whenever you're ready to dive into the next one, I'm here for it. Deuces.
Deuces.